Okay, in lesson 7, we are going to review two previous essential questions. How do I display a rate situation on the coordinate plane? And how do I identify unit rate and use it in rate situations? In this case, we're going to be looking at rate situations that involve constant speed. So if you look at workbook page 19, you can see an example of a rate situation that involves speed. In this case, number 1, Dan ran in the grade 6 track meet. And you can see that we're talking about distance and time, or seconds and yards. So we definitely are talking about speed here. Most of the time when you think of speed, maybe you think miles per hour, right? That's a great example because you probably see it when you're out driving with mom or dad or whoever. Miles per hour is speed. You have a distance, miles, and per hour you have time involved. In this case, we're talking about yards and seconds. So yards is the distance that Dan must be running. Seconds is the time that he, runs whatever number of yards. If you look at this table, it looks like we're going to have to fill in this table. I've got this one row here, 315, that I could probably use to figure out the unit rate. Remember, the unit rate we'd always write in the middle. We'd always write, what were we multiplying with. So 3 times what number gives me 15? Obviously, 3 times 5 gives me 15. You may also want to think backwards. You may want to think, okay, well, 15 divided by 3 is going to give me 5. So 5 must be the unit rate. 3 times 5. So I could write that all the way through the middle and use that to fill in the rest of my table. Alright, 1 times 5, obviously 5. 9 times 5 is 45. Here, what number times 5 is 10? Obviously that's 2, because you know that 2 times 5 is 10. Or maybe you want to think backwards. Maybe you want to think 10 divided by 5 gives me, what number? Obviously that's 2. 50 times 5 is 250. So in this case, I can see that my unit rate is right here in the very first row. It is 5 yards per second. 5 yards per second. And that means when I go to graph it, I'm going to have unit rate triangles that show that unit rate. 1 is always my base, and my height is the unit rate of 5. So 5 yards for 1 second. Now I can actually draw that on the graph. Let's see here. My first set of coordinates, my first ordered pair, is 1, 5. So over 1, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right about here. Oh, I forgot labels. Here's my x and my y-axis. Remember, x-axis is always the first column. So that's our time down here. And our y is always our second column, so that means distance. That would be my y-axis. Okay, so I plotted 1, 5. The next one is 3, 15. So over 1, 2, 3, up 15. Right about there. And, I don't think I'm going to have space for 945. Don't feel like you need to plot every single ordered pair. You may not have space for it. Plot the ones that you can. 2, 10, I can plot that one. Let's see, over 2, up 10. Right about here. Alright, and you can see that I can make a straight line going through my dots here. And you will also see the unit rate triangles that I can make. So over 1, up 5. Over 1, up 5. Over 1, up 5. So every unit rate triangle looks like that. You have a base of 1 and you have a height of 5 because that's your unit rate. It may be increasing the seconds, that he's running, but each time with every second he runs, he gets 5 yards further. Now, I'll let you do the other pages on your own. I want you to take a look at workbook page 21. Here we have a couple word problems that we can solve, maybe using multiplication or division. We can use a rate table to kind of help us to make sense of them. Here, number 6, Ron earns $5 per hour for raking leaves. How much will he earn in 6 hours? All right. Well, you may want to think in terms of a rate table. This is optional. Let's see, we're talking about hours and the amount of money that he earns. And if he earns $5 for 1 hour, we want to know what would he earn for 6 hours. So we again might have to think, okay, what are we multiplying with? What is our unit rate? In this case, our unit rate is 5, right? $5 per hour. So you can use multiplication here. You basically just have to do 6 times 5. That means he's going to earn $30. You may have recognized that you could just multiply right away because they had given you the unit rate, $5 for 1 hour. So if we're talking about 6 hours, just multiply it by 5. Let's look at number 8. Number 8 is a little bit different. Margot buys 4 pounds of peaches for $12. What is the unit rate? So this one is definitely different because they're asking us for the unit rate. It's not given to us. So maybe we want to use a rate table again to help us to figure out what the unit rate is. So remember, the unit rate's the number we always multiply with. Let's see, pounds and money. I'll put a dollar sign. And we've got 4 pounds for $12. So again, what are we multiplying with? What is that missing unit rate? In this case, you can probably figure out that it's 3. 4 times 3 gives you 12. $3 per pound. However, another way you could do this is with division. If you take a look here, you can take your 4 pounds of peaches for $12 and ask yourself, well, how much is it per pound, right? Let's see. How much per pound? So, when you're asking about how much, think about the money first. And then divide by your pounds, your units. 12 divided by 4 is what gives you 3. That saves you the trouble of having to draw a rate table. If you recognize that when you're trying to find unit rate, all you need to do is divide, you don't have to make a big rate table. Okay, so here are some of the takeaways from this lesson. First, constant speed is another rate situation that can be displayed on the coordinate plane with a straight line and, of course, unit rate triangles. This is very important. You can take the product and divide it by the unit to find the unit rate, or unit price if you're talking about money. And here's some great examples you probably want to write down in your notebook. The first one you should recognize, 4 pounds of peaches for $12. Well, how much is that per peach? We're looking for the unit price. So how much is the money per peach? Technically, it should be pounds of peaches. And that would be 4, so $3 per pound. Karen walks 6 miles in 2 hours. So again, we're thinking miles per hour. Figure out your miles, which is the 6, per hour, there's your 2, and then divide. 6 divided by 2 is 3. That way, you don't have to make a rate table.